Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. Welcome back to Oak Camp, my spring retreat away from the world and an opportunity to reconvene with nature in the interests of mental well-being and overall human resilience. Well, if you've been watching my series of adventures here in the woods, living, using equipment and just really enjoying life, you will have noticed there's one piece of tool which is absolutely requisite to enjoying life here and ensuring that I can get my fires started, I can cook my food well, and it is of course my bushcraft knife. And the knife which I've been using in all my videos is this Fitzroy bushcraft knife. So I'm going to review this today. I'm going to tell you all about it, what my lived experience is with this knife and whether I can recommend it for you. So come over to my bushcraft table and we'll have a proper chat. Okay, so here we are. And of course, if you spend any time in the outdoors, you will know that the knife is a very important, if not a vital part of equipment that you need to perform for you. And I was delighted actually to discover that there was a knife or a bushcraft knife brand available which was designed locally to me. And one of the attractions for me with this piece was that the company, Fitzroy Knives, is based in Bristol, and the knife was designed in Bristol. That's relevant to me because Bristol is about 20 miles north of where I'm sitting now, and we don't often hear of products like this being produced in Bristol. So let me tell you about this piece. It's a rather splendid knife, as you can see, and it's in the traditional, slightly unusual bushcraft style. It's not something which I've seen before. It's not one which I've owned before. I've used many bushcraft knives over time, but this is one which has been quite a little revelation for me over the last few days. So the company, as I say, only has this design currently in their portfolio. However, it is available in a few variations. This is the stainless steel model, and as it says on the blade, it's the N690 stainless steel model. So that's the grade of the stainless steel in use, but it's also available in a high carbon steel. Now, you choose one of the other depending on what your environment is. Stainless steel is preferred really if you're going to use it near the seaside because it's more impervious, perhaps not totally impervious, but it is more resistant to corrosion, which could be exacerbated by the sea air. Whereas your high carbon blade is certainly going to suffer a bit more. The stainless steel is also preferable if you're going to be preparing food because quite simply it's just a better product for that. The high carbon steel tends to be better to get a keener edge on it, so if you want a much sharper blade, or if you want a blade which you're going to strike a ferrocerium rod, so a fire steel, because it tends to provide a better striking mechanism. However, to be fair, the stainless steel for me is the best all-rounder, and you know, high carbon isn't something I would choose myself. And predominantly I like the stainless steel because it tends to have better edge retention, which is important for me because I'm not a huge fan of sharpening knives, and the longer I can go between sharpening knives, the better. So what we're looking at here, as you can see, is a pretty straightforward blade. It's a full tang blade, which means the blade extends the entirety of the length through the handle. That's clearly visible, and you can see it's a good solid 4mm thick blade stock. So it feels robust in the hand, and you're not afraid to take on quite serious endeavors because this is a tough, solid knife. It's not flimsy. You know it's not going to let you down. Now, the shape of the blade is what they refer to within the company as the modified straight back. And if you look at it quite closely, it's got a sort of slightly canted blade, so the blade drops down ever so slightly. It's got a flat grind opposed to the Scandinavian grind or the Scandi grind, which you often see on many other bushcraft knives. But for me, I prefer that quite simply because it's easier to keep sharp. If you're looking after your own blade, you're sharpening the blade yourself, and it's a little bit better with the edge retention, I think, personally. So very robust and solid, very usable as well with the flat grind. The material itself that the blade is made of is, as I say, N690 steel, but it's bead blasted, so it has a sort of finish on it which isn't shiny, which is nice. You know, you don't want shiny. It doesn't retain that shininess if you use it with anger, to be honest. So for me, I like the bead blasted look. It's rather splendid. When you look at the handle, I went for the micarta. This is Hessian micarta, but it's also available with black G10, which is a kind of stabilized glass fiber. I prefer the Hessian micarta because it has texture, it has some pattern to it, and it's also really robust, and you know, it's solid piece of kit. The scales of the handle are held in place by torque screws, so should you need to remove them for whatever purpose, if one gets damaged, it needs to be replaced, it should be a relatively straightforward process. And in the rear, you can see there is a small aperture, a hole for a lanyard or whatever you wish to, you know, affix to that. But for me, you know, it's perfectly adequate as it is. So a very handy little blade, fits nicely in the hand. I've got kind of a medium-sized hand, so nice, good, solid grip. Hardly any negativity I can say about this at all. Looking at the blade again, you've got some jimping on the spine of the blade, which is handy really just to orient your hand when you're, you know, if you're using it for something. It's good to have just something there, you know, that's as far as your thumb can go, so your hand is oriented on the blade. And just at the base of the blade there is indeed a small blade sharpening notch, which is quite useful when it comes to keeping that edge on the blade so you don't sort of shoot off the end, damage the handle. So I like that little notch there. So all in all, pretty solid little blade. The steel itself comes from Italy, from Maniago in Italy, which is a part of Italy which is renowned for the creation and maintenance of, also so the foundering of good quality steel. So a lot of confidence in the components which this little knife is made of. Fairly straightforward piece. It comes with this nice black leather stitched scabbard or sheath, nicely fitted in. You know, the knife isn't going to fall out. It's robustly held in place by the sheath and fits on the belt. I generally, when I'm here in the field, do wear it on my belt. It's an excellent little tool to have around with you, I have to say. So my experience with this piece, I've been using it now for probably about 3 weeks, and most of that time, well, that's not true, the last week I've been using it here in Anger in Oak Camp, which is my springtime retreat. So during this last week, this knife has been my constant companion, and it's my most used tool for sure. I've been using it every day to process firewood. You know, I've been lighting my own fires every day here, and I use fat wood and a ferrocerium rod. Actually, Fitzroy Knives sent me one of their ferrocerium rods, their fire steels, along with this sample piece to make use of, and it's one of the best ferro rods I've ever had. So I have to say that, quite aside from this piece, their ferro rod is really great. It's been an absolute boon when it's been a case of lighting my fires once or twice a day. So yeah, nice little piece. Cost of this, 160 British pounds. That's the knife and the sheath all in. The ferrocerium rod I think was about 18 pounds, 17 pounds in addition. Well worth having that, I have to say. As a pairing, they are a very good combination of tools to have in the field. And as I say, I've been using this to light my fires every day. I've been using it to prepare my food, so I've been cooking here, and again the stainless steel, perfect. I've been making stews, cutting vegetables, cutting meat, and it's, as I say, the edge retention has been superb. I haven't touched the edge yet. It's still in its factory finish, and it is as sharp as I could hope it ever to be. So a fantastic tool indeed. Now I should caveat this, as I always do, I am not paid or endorsed by Fitzroy Knives to talk about this blade at all, right? I have actually been provided this knife as a working sample to make use of during this period here in Oak Camp. I don't have to return it, so I do have the benefit of having the knife as a sort of ongoing product placement, as I will be continuing to use it in my bushcraft endeavours in the future. But should this knife be inadequate or not up to my standard, I would absolutely tell you. I'm not under any requirement whatsoever to give this knife a positive review, and I do so based on the fact that I've been using it for several days in what you can only describe as pretty elementary bushcrafting endeavours here in the bush, in the British countryside, and the blade has performed above and beyond my expectations. And at the price point, I think it's a pretty good pickup indeed. I'll be delighted to be using this into the future, and I'm sure it's going to be a pretty solid performer going forwards. And you can hold me to that, because you'll see me using it in the months and years ahead, hopefully. So there we go, that is the Fitzroy knife. Lots of positivity to it. Just to give you some of the final statistics, it is 225 millimeters in overall length. So of course, when you consider the legality of carrying a knife like this wouldn't be something you could carry here in the United Kingdom around the streets in a public place. It falls within the boundaries of an acceptable size knife for that purpose. But when you're outdoors on private land using it for its intended purpose as a bushcraft knife, it's pretty much as good as I could possibly have hoped for, I have to say. So there we go. I'm going to continue using this little baby, and it's going to be a pleasure to do so. And it feels so nicely weighted and oriented in the hand. It makes those chores, like making feather sticks, taking shavings of fat wood to light a fire, it's absolutely a pleasure to do so, having used far less capable bushcraft knives in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and you found it useful if you yourself have been considering entering the world of bushcraft and you're looking for a good elementary cutting tool which will help you on that journey. If you have enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to give it a thumbs up, because it helps me and the channel to grow and reach ever more people. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button. If you'd like to contribute to the conversation, leave a comment in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by either buying me a coffee, or you can become a patron. And I create additional videos for my patrons whose names you will see at the end of this video. And if you want to find out about those routes into supporting the channel, just go to the show notes and you'll find links to my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee page. So there we go. I'm going to get back to my bushcrafting life using this good old Fitzroy knife as my tool for the present, and certainly for the future as far as I can see it. So until the next time, take care. Enjoy the outdoors responsibly, have the right tool for the job, and you won't go wrong. Until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.